Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to week number 8 of the Esports Racing League's Spring Tour, presented by Spec Racer Sports, Alliance Autosport, and Grassroots Motorsports Magazine here on Apex Racing TV. Over the course of our 9-week season and then the winner-take-all runoffs, we hope to bring you some of the best racing around in 3 different classes well known to club racers here in the United States: Spec Miata, Spec Racer Ford, and the RE2 Formula cars. This week, we move on from a quaint little track in West Virginia west to a facility that screams everything is bigger. Sitting just outside of Austin, Texas, Circuit of the Americas has certainly become known for its signature S's, long back straightaway, and its 13 stories of elevation change, including the massive climb, the 101-foot climb up to that very tight turn 1 hairpin. There are also several decreasing radius corners and a few hairpin turns that also will challenge the driver's skills. But it seems like whenever we travel to Austin, all the people want to talk about, all our drivers want to talk about, are track limits. There's acres and acres of asphalt runoff to tempt the driver to sweep those corner entries and sweep those exits. But if you put your tires off that line by maybe just an inch or two during qualifying, your lap is not going to count. And so with a long lap of over 3.4 miles here at COTA and only 15 minutes for each one of our 2 classes racing tonight to qualify, a driver just cannot afford to step over those track limits too many times, or they might find themselves starting their race from the back of the pack. Many drivers have the speed to be fast enough for pole position today, but will they be able to avoid those penalties and stay inside our track's tough Austin city limits? I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me in the commentary booth tonight is Tyler Campbell, filling in for Brian Donati, with Dennis Branch in the virtual production trailer, bringing you all the great views and angles from this iconic American racetrack. As always, we'll have 2 20-minute sprints to the checkered flag, and first up is going to be the Spec Racer Fords for their final outing of the regular season. And then to round out the evening, we're going to jump over to the RE2 Formula cars contesting their 5th of 6 regular season races. And although they're taking the night off, we're going to see the Spec Miatas. They're going to join us next week for the regular season finale held out on the Monterey Peninsula. So Tyler, good evening and welcome to Austin, Texas.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. It's great to be here again. I'm surprised I've had 2 chances here to commentate, and I'm not going to squander that chance to sit here up in this nice air-conditioned production booth with you today.
That's all right. Thank you so much. And yeah, you know, every time you're here, it gets harder and harder to bring Brian back. But don't let him hear that. Actually, Brian down with the family celebrating a birthday. Won't tell you which one because it might even make me look young. But hopefully we'll have him back when we head out to Laguna Seca next week. All right, so we have on track right now our Spec Racer Fords, and we do have qualifying underway. And by the way, Dennis, I'm showing that we're in a replay right now for the Spec Racer Fords. I don't know if that matters or not, but
I think he's up there fixing the production booth right now.
Gotcha. All right. So I'm going to vamp a little bit here as we get things back together on the video. And let's talk a little bit, Tyler, about our race last week at Summit Point Raceway, Summit Point Motorsports Park in Spec Racer Ford, where we had a really close, tight finish, a little bumping and banging. It was a great race in Spec Racer Ford, where we had Xiao Lu and Wan Lin on the front row. We had Jameson Huffman and Caleb Patry on row 2. We had Stephen Beardsley and Stevie Ray making up row 3. Should mention that Morgan Burkhardt was not here during the week, and he actually, as we'll see in just a few moments, fell from grace from his spot and his perch atop the championship standings in Spec Racer Ford with his absence. But you know, after an emotional tribute in honor of multi-time national champion and our sponsor here at the Esports Racing League, Scott Reddick, we had Lou cement an early lead with both Patry and Huffman working past Wan Lin on the very first lap. And that's how it was going to stay for a good portion of the race, with our top 4 drivers separating themselves out from the rest of the field by over 5 seconds. And then finally, Huffman taking the lead away from Xiao Lu on lap number 8, just a little bit under halfway through the race. But on lap 10, I'd like to say that things got a little wacky as Lin made a pass for the lead. He had been sitting in fourth place, got around both Patry and Jiahao Lu, got around to Huffman, and the pass that he made, absolutely amazing. Through, I think in the real world it might not have held up, but he made it through the gravel trap coming out of turn number 3 and just went right past Jameson Huffman. And then just a little bit later, just 2 turns later, Caleb Patry and Jiahao Lu came together, going down through the high-speed chute, high-speed downhill right-hander. Lu ended up at I'd say about a 70% slip angle going down the track. Was almost perpendicular to the track surface heading down, had the rear wheels in the grass, and somehow managed to save the car. Did not spin it around, did not lose momentum, and actually stayed within the draft for the rest of that lap. It was just an absolutely amazing lead, amazing save. It did drop him down to fourth place, however, and with time running down, though, and this was with 2 laps remaining in the race, both Caleb Patry and then Jameson Huffman fell off course. Patry down to turn 5, Huffman coming out of turn number 10, and that moved Jiahao Lu back up into the lead. It moved Wanqi Lin into second, and it then became a 2-car battle for the lead. And on the very last lap, these 2 drivers, 2 teammates, ran side by side almost the entire way around the 2-mile 10-turn Summit Point Motorsports Park circuit. And as they came out of turn 10, maybe a little rubbing, a little bumping of fiberglass. As they came up to the start-finish line, Jiahao Lu took his very first win in the Esports Racing League by 18 thousandths of a second over Wanqi Lin. Beans Forster, who had been sitting almost 5 seconds back from our top 4 cars with 2 laps to go, he finished in third ahead of both Patry and Huffman. So let's go take a look at the points in Spec Racer Ford, where our new points leader, even with that 4th place finish, is Caleb Patry. He's sitting there with 99 points, 11 points up on our former points leader, Morgan Burkhardt, who again did not race in either of the races last week. He's sitting there with 88 points, and you can see just 2 points back in third is Jameson Huffman. Jameson's father, Justin, sitting in 4th, with Jordy Fike sitting in 5th place. And you can see there, as you work your way down, it gets pretty close down there, 7th down through 10th place. And, we'll have to see how things play out here tonight. Morgan Burkhardt is back here with us. And if you take a look at that timing tower, Caleb, over on the top left-hand corner of your screen, you'll see that Caleb Patry, our current points leader, and he was also our Season 3 champion in Spec Racer Ford, is your provisional pole sitter. Morgan Burkhardt, though, only 41 thousandths of a second back.
Yeah, it's very, very close between both of them, and I don't think Caleb's going to give back that first place of the points at all. I think he's really gonna fight for that one. They're very close. It should be interesting because, Summit Point, they were going side by side. There's not a lot of room at Summit Point to go side by side. It's very narrow and very flowing in several sections. Here, however, you can see it's a massively wide track with a very, very long straight. So, we'll see how they get along going through the S's, and they definitely have to be careful of those sausage curbs. Those sleeping policemen will jump up and smack you with a baton if you're not careful.
That's right. And I know Dennis and I had talked, or not Dennis and I, but Brian and I had talked about this at one point because, of course, and actually great news to hear this week that one of the drivers from the W Series that actually got injured quite badly at the Formula One race back in October by going over those sausage curbs. Abby Eaton, she is fully recovered, and it was just announced this week that she's going to be rejoining the W Series this week. But those sausage curbs in real life can do serious damages. It actually broke her back. In the virtual world, it can be just as bad, just without all the pain afterwards, I guess. Unless you've got like a high strength force feedback wheel maybe. But let's take a look here as qualifying is running down. Morgan Burkhardt now leapfrogs his teammate Caleb Patry. Burkhardt with a 224.581. He is your provisional pole sitter as the checkered flag is now out. Caleb Patry at a 224.715, just about 1500ths of a second back. Brian Schmaltz, great run for Brian in the number 194 machine. And he turns in a 225.615. Charles Vaccaro at a 226.1, and Jordy Fike there at a 226.2. So as you look up and down the order there, Tyler, very closely matched. And I think you were alluding to it. This track has a number of different challenges. I mean, certainly there's that 6/10 of a mile straightaway that comes out of the hairpin at turn 11. There are the S's from turns 2 all the way up to turn 6 that each one of those S's becomes a further decreasing radius, and makes for very, very difficult running there, and certainly side by side. And then of course there's that run up to the big hairpin at turn 1, the 101 feet, the 11% rise up to turn 1, and we can see there Brian Schmaltz making a run through it, and you can see the challenge there is it is so wide on entry and then it narrows down so much on exit that it really will present challenges for these drivers.
Yeah, it really is. It really is a hairpin in the biggest definition of a hairpin, and you get really good braking efficiency going up that hill, especially as you get the suspension compresses, and you get great performance until you get to the very top. You have to make sure you're stopped or slowed down enough before you start your turn in there. It's gonna send you, especially in these cars, the rear's gonna come right back around on you.
Yes.
And especially if you got multiple people running at you, that's why these starts are so important to stay clean, because if you're not, it's just gonna become all bundled up. It's gonna become a parking lot.
And I was gonna say that is exactly it, whether it be in the virtual world or whether it be in real life. I've witnessed too many starts here at the Circuit of the Americas where it does indeed become a parking lot. Right up at turn 1, as you have all these drivers come in blind to, and again with the Spec Racer Fords, the chances of lift off oversteer on cold tires as they crest over that top of the hill and try and get the car rotated is very, very real.
It's massive for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got Brian Schmaltz finishing up here, and we should have our starting grid popping up here in just a moment as we look at. I don't know if this is coming up on the live feed yet, but Dale Earnhardt and his buddy screaming for joy in the amphitheater at Circuit of the Americas. That's another thing maybe we'll talk about as the night goes on. Is this facility has really grown to be much more than just a racetrack. There are a number of entertainment options here as well in order to keep people around. There's a soccer stadium that's been built just down past turn 11. They're putting in some big garages and a hotel on site. There's going to be a water park. There's a go-kart track, anything and everything you can imagine here to make this more than a facility that gets used, once for Formula One, once for MotoGP or Moto America, that it really can be a multi-use facility, and of course the big amphitheater that we have here as well. All right, so let's see here. We should have the starting grid popping up here in just a few moments. I think we were just waiting for a couple of drivers to check out of the session so we can flip things over, and here we go. And so, Tyler, tell you what, why don't I take the starting grid for the first race, and I'll leave, since you're the Formula Enterprises or RE2 expert, I'll leave the second race to you. Starting on the pole tonight, with a fast lap time of a 224.581, 1300ths of a second up on his teammate, Morgan Burkhardt, driver of the number 40 All Sports Racing Spec Racer Ford. Caleb Patry, our Season 3 champion, will start, as I mentioned, next to him on the outside of row number 1. Brian Schmaltz, he will start on the inside of row number 2, just about exactly 1 second off the pole. And Charles Vaccaro will be your outside driver on row number 2, starting in 4th. Jordy Fike in the Team Esport Racer machine will start 5th. Murphy Nichols in his Smoketown Brewing number 5 entry will start 6th. And Tyler, I think probably the big thing here is we're going to have to see if Murphy goes blink free tonight, because I've heard through the grapevine that with the help of some other folks here in the league, he may have had his internet issues resolved.
He did seem pretty excited about it. So we'll see. We'll see. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll withhold judgment for now. Now, Greg Mack, he's going to be starting on the inside of row number 4 with Deacon Greenfield in the number 36 machine, starting right next to him. Beans Forster, who I think is the gentleman who helped out Mr. Nichols with his internet connectivity, he will start 9th tonight with John Wilson in the number 82 machine, starting next to him in 10th. Josh Justice in the 399 machine will start on the inside of row number 6 with Andrew Benna, and we'll have to see if Andrew's running that Spec Racer Bright machine. I don't think he is, thank God. Andrew is going to be starting tonight in 12th. Joaquin Effinger will start 13th, with Wayne Buttermore starting 14th. And then we've got John Casey and John Vogel starting 15th and 16th, with Dave Tamira on the inside and our sole driver in row number 8. And so a little surprised to see John Vogel in that number 4 machine, Tyler, starting so far in the back of the pack. But there you have it.
Yeah, and I was gonna say I'm not sure if he took the grid here or not. I do see him on the timing tower, but we'll see.
Yeah, it looks like
maybe just hopping in, giving it a peek.
Tamira did not start. Maybe they'll start from the pit.
Yeah, maybe just coming in, getting a few laps in, seeing if they're competitive. I mean, I've done that before, where you'll hop into the practice session and see, you know what, am I gonna do this race? Maybe if it feels good, but we'll see how they go here in a second.
All right, well, we've got the pace car now on the pit lane. We'll talk about our sponsor for tonight's race, Spec Racer Sports, in just a few moments. But Morgan Burkhardt now has the field with Caleb Patry. They're lined up. They're making their way down the front straight. And as they are now about halfway down, we're waiting. And there we have it. Green flag is in the air. Very late start. You can see the green lights are flashing. And they are on their way up the turn 1, Tyler, as Burkhardt tries to move over a little bit to drivers right. The big challenge here is there's so much room for cars to come up the inside. You never really know who to defend against. But Burkhardt and Patry, the first 2 cars to crest over the top of the hill. Patry now has position going down into turn number 1, and side by side, it is Murphy Nichols with Charles Vaccaro in that battle for 3rd as our 2 leaders. Patry and Burkhardt already lining up nose to tail. It's then behind Vaccaro and Nichols, Brian Schmaltz in the 194 machine, Andrew Benna, Deacon Greenfield, and Benna made a great run, making up 6 positions on the start, Tyler.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that was that outside line. We saw someone get bottled up there on the inside, and I'm not sure who that was, but Charles Vaccaro and Andrew Benna definitely the beneficiary in that one. And they finally single filed out here. They were running too wide for a pretty surprising amount of time, and even went 4 wide there in that first corner. All
right, as they come down to the hairpin at turn 11 for the very first time, they're going to go, and contact between Charles Vaccaro and Andrew Benna as they come through the hairpin at 11. Looks like Vaccaro got right into the back of that black number 71. Greg Mack in the silver and blue number 2 machine also having to take evasive action. He's going to fall back a number of positions here as our leaders make their way down into turn 12 for the very first time, hard under braking. And let's see what Schmaltz is going to do now as Schmaltz comes up on Murphy Nichols. And here's where it gets a little interesting. Here's we've got practically 5 cars wide going through turn 2, or probably going through turn 12 and setting up for the carousel section here.
Yep, it opens up, but you can go through the straight, it opens up some more, then it's going to tighten down right here. 2 by 2, looks like they're going to single file their way out, except for there in the back, looks like Andrew Benna is making his way back a little bit through the field. Nice and clean through there, actually, so a little bit of a bump there, but yeah, they're moving out to the basically the triple right-hander here. It's a very quick part of the track, and it's quite difficult to stay there on that inside line if you're really pushing.
Yeah, very, very much so. Get a lot of understeer. You can see actually, looks like Joaquin Effinger pushed all the way out. Drivers left through that stadium section. Actually, the Grand Plaza section, as it's now called, turn 17 and 18, as our drivers come through the final corner through turn 20 onto the front straight. And it is, after 1 lap, Morgan Burkhardt, your leader, Caleb Patry, now having fallen back into second. But here's the big battle right now. If we take a look, it is Josh Justice with Jordy Fike, as Justice and Fike get together coming out of turn number 1, coming down the hill, and that was the battle there for 4th position. And that is going to drop a number of drivers. Josh Justice now going to drop all the way back to 15th, to the back of the field in that number 399 machine. Let's take a look at the replay time.
Yep, and here we go with that. We go with going up the hill, getting on the brakes, and you're just going to see there's a little bit of lock up there, and there's that looseness coming over. He just did not get the car slowed down enough to get it turned into the corner safely. And it really feels like you can make that corner, and then the rear end, it's the slowest slide in the world, and it's the worst thing in the world. You just feel the car come around, and all of a sudden you're facing the driver that you just passed.
Yeah, and so very unfortunate for Justice as he drops all the way to the back of the field. But if anything, the contact that he had with Jordy Fike, it spun Justice back to the outside. And Greenfield and Forster and Benna, who's made his way back up again, and also Vaccaro, just barely able to avoid that spinning 399 machine. As we take a look here, and now running off and running wide, that is Morgan Burkhardt, as they were coming down tight into turn number 12. Burkhardt and Caleb Patry. Let's take a look at the replay here, as Burkhardt might be able to hold on to that position as they come set up for turn 12 at the end of that long straightaway, as Burkhardt now drops in back behind Caleb Patry and under braking. And this Burkhardt,
Just locked it up a little bit too much. Yep, he just got a little bit on the brakes there, trying to get ambitious, and I think maybe caught some of that painted curb, and yeah, they won't do you any favors.
No, certainly not. And you can see there as the rear end stepped to driver's left, and the rear end spun out, and it looks like Charles Vaccaro with another issue, and Vaccaro having started right up towards the front of the field, having started on row number 2. He is now fallen all the way back to 15th. Let's take a look at the replay here.
Yeah, we'll see coming under braking, same as it. Yep, it looks like I didn't catch it. That was before. Was that
82 of John Wilson?
John Wilson. Yep.
Yeah, got
yeah,
right
it looks
into
like
the back
he's just
of him.
trying to play it cautious, and that's one of the big things when we talk about the difference between sim and real world. You can get the physics as close as you want, you can get the feel as close as you want, but if you don't have a wide enough screen, and that was an issue when I first came here to Circuit of the Americas and raced here in this very league, you can't see some of the apexes if you're on a single screen, or if you're a little bit too far away. It becomes very difficult, especially in that corner, because you're coming to the right, you have to turn to the left. You're basically blindly braking for an apex you can't see, especially if there's cars in front. And so that you can see that there, where he wants to slow. He doesn't want to cause any issues for the driver ahead, but unfortunately it caused an issue for a driver behind him. So.
All right, so on board right now, we're with Ben Forster, as he follows Deacon Greenfield. This is the battle right now for 6th position. Both of these drivers have made up 2 spots since the start, and you can see they're not very far behind Jordy Fike in the 09 machine, who somehow miraculously did not lose any positions when he got tangled up with Josh Justice just a lap or so ago. Here, but maybe just as surprising with all of the battling that we've seen is that Andrew Benna in that black number 71 machine, as well as Greg Mack, are as close as they are. But you can see these 2 machines locked nose to tail, and I love that view, Tyler, because these fiberglass bodies for the Spec Racer Fords, what were originally known as Sports Renault back in the early 80s when they were first designed, I mean, really designed for these cars to almost interlock for a draft. That even back long before aerodynamics came to club racing, there were some definite ideas on how to make the racing very close. And Greenfield goes around, loses the rear end. The 231 machine of Forster has impact, but I guess the other part of this, Tyler, is never mind that they did a lot of work on the fiberglass bodies. The square tube frames of the Spec Racer Fords are many times referred to as tank-like.
Yeah, it's very interesting learning about these. Obviously, I've seen them race on a club level before, and it's just amazing that they're still racing today, obviously in various forms of evolution, and it's great to see that they're represented in iRacing as well. And yeah, for sure, you learn the value of the draft before you know what the draft is, especially even in go-karting at a young age, for example. You can very much feel the draft.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And and I even looked to last season, the Esports Racing League, where we were running the the Formula V's, and I think, especially early on in the season, I think a lot of the drivers who had not had any experience racing those V's, and many times got caught out because they didn't realize how extreme the draft could be. Even with cars that have only 60 horsepower, that they could pick up something anywhere between 5 and 10 miles an hour just by trailing by following the leading car. All right, real quick, let's jump back over to this battle for the lead where Caleb Patry does maintain the lead here. But even with that off down at turn 5 2 laps ago, Morgan Burkhardt, he's obviously sitting back and he's trying to hold off his teammate Murphy Nichols. But I thought he would have lost a lot more ground. Burkhardt, though, your pole sitter, now sitting almost 4 full seconds back from the 198 machine from Patry. And Tyler, again, there's still plenty of time, but I haven't seen a blink yet from Murphy Nichols. Let's take a look at what Dennis is serving us up here.
Yeah, I believe this is Deacon Greenfield going on Andrew Benna here down to the braking. He's going to make the very similar mistake. You see him lock up the left front there, lock it up again, and it's just too much speed. And that's the most frustrating thing. I mean, that's honestly the reason I don't race in this series is they got a lot of brakes, and it didn't feel like they have enough tires to deal with those brakes, and so it's very easy to lock up and get unstable there.
Yeah, it's the weight transfer and with the Gen 3 version of these cars, where there is a lot less weight now modeled on these cars. When the Spec Racer Fords were first added to the iRacing platform back in, I think it was actually like 2007, when it first launched, the car was based on the chassis, more or less the same chassis that it is now, same body, but on a 1.9 liter iron block Ford Escort motor from the 80s. And with the updates that came on board last year, moving these cars to the Gen 3, and again, modeled after the real-life Spec Racer Ford cars, a much lighter, much more powerful motor in the rear, but the tires have stayed the same. There are more brakes in the front of the cars, not so much in the rears, but the handling, the balance definitely has changed. If anything, most of the drivers that I've talked to that run the Spec Racer Fords in real life say that the modeling now is actually much closer to the real thing than what it was before. The car was for many years on the iRacing platform known for its penchant for lift-off oversteer. Which the car is known for in real life, just not to the extent and extremes that it was here in iRacing.
Yeah, for sure. And it was interesting. I was going to bring it up as we're looking at Effinger and Justice. So, Effinger Greenfield. My bad. So Greenfield's trying to make his recovery here, and Joaquin looks to be driving a nice, smooth, consistent race. He's up to 10th. He's been up 3 places now, and we'll see if he can get it done on Greenfield. But what I was going to mention is Morgan Burkhardt and Murphy Nichols are actually doing all they can to draft up and make it a clean lap. They ran a second, half a second faster in the last lap. I'm not sure there's enough time to get up there, much less make a pass. But the two teammates are going to work together to get up there to their third teammate, and definitely going to try to make it interesting for us here. So as long as Caleb is nice and smooth and doesn't make any mistakes, which he's known for not making too many mistakes, we'll see if they catch him here in the next couple laps.
Yeah, but and this is certainly the opposite of what we saw last week at Summit Point, where the leaders, and again, the leaders, they had opened up the top 4 cars, had opened up about a 5-second advantage over the rest of the field last week, and then they did that, I think, by lap 4. And then they all just started battling it out till the end of the race. But the advantage that they had was the second pack of drivers from positions 5 all the way back to 10. They were doing the exact same thing, and so that second pack could never make up any ground. But yeah, you're seeing right here where Nichols is just staying back in line, showing a little bit of the nose there, and I think that was actually more Burkhardt opening up the entrance to the corner. Nichols didn't actually make a change in the steering angle there at all, and yeah, they're just trying to work together and try to draft back up towards Patry, as we have just a little bit over 7 minutes remaining in this first 20-minute race. But here, quick, Tyler, while these drivers now in this second pack, and we're watching Joaquin Effinger lead Josh Justice, Deacon Greenfield, and also John Wilson up the field. Let me quickly talk about our sponsor for tonight's first race of the evening, and that is Spec Racer Sports, and their mission to help fuel and support your addiction to road racing. And Spec Racer Sports feels that the way to accomplish this is by providing exceptional customer support, parts, and services where you need them, when you need them, at a fair, competitive price. Spec Racer Sports currently has Spec Racer Fords at Motorsports Ranch Houston and provides rental cars for your arrive and drive purposes. They also provide access to the track for test drives, and they offer new car sales as well, not just that stable of rentals, but they offer new car sales, storage, and support, including a complement of technical services such as chassis dyno work, driver coaching, and fabrication that they offer at very competitive rates. To find out more about Spec Racer Sports and their services, you can browse on over to specracersports.com. All right, so let's jump back to this battle that we're watching right here. This is the battle for ninth. As last time when I started talking, Joaquin Effinger led the field here, and now a great little battle going on between the 82 of Wilson and the 399 of Justice, as Justice is working his recovery drive, Tyler.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because we've actually, and I was thinking about it during that sponsor message, we've seen several incidents, solo spins, light taps. Luckily, with these being slightly lower speed and, as you said, robust as a tank, we are actually still seeing several packs forming, and that's actually really nice that we're still getting some good racing, because this is a massive track, realistically speaking. So, with all that, you could very easily have a field spread out, and this is great that we're seeing, Effinger mixing it up, Justice doing a good job bringing it back through the field, and we'll see if he can get past Wilson. I'm not sure he's going to get to Mack. We only have about 2 minutes. 5 minutes.
About 5 minutes, and here's another great battle that has been going on, and even after Benna had that coming together early on, wonderful battle going on right here between he and Greg Mack. Right behind this is the battle for 7th position, and even with that early spin, Benna still up 5 positions. Amazing, because he had the 6 positions that he made, I think, on the start before turn number 2, and he's managed to work his way back up. But yeah, as you said, lots of very close battles going on here, as it looks like the 82 of Wilson gives way to Justice going through the S's, and I love watching this little section of the track, Tyler. As I said, everything just kind of tightens up as you come through, and then you make that quick run up the hill towards turns 7 and 8 before you start making the run back down towards the hairpin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of elevation change, and lots of really hitting the apexes. If you're missing the apexes, you're not doing what you need to do, and getting that car through there as smoothly as possible, because it's an absolute must here. And yeah, we had Justice, I believe, getting passed initially through John Wilson, and now he's going to lose a place to Deacon Greenfield.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're just swapping positions as they go. You got to be consistent. You got to stick it out. And as I mentioned before, Caleb Patry's consistent, and they're not able to catch him anymore. So
no. Matter of fact. Oh wow! Look at this late move right.
This is gonna be good. This is actually one of the places where you could actually go 3 wide, and being on the inside while being beneficial, the outside almost is preferable here, because you have more options. You have a runoff area, and that's something that in the first corner here you can get that 4 wide, and you can jumble it up because there's runoff. It's concrete runoff. If you look at a place like VIR, you don't have as much of an option there. It's just grass. You're going into the creek.
Oh,
and that's Effinger around in the back there.
So, and he's going to do a little dance there, and gets the car recovered after doing a 720. But he is now out of that battle for 9th position with Wilson, Greenfield, and Justice. Here we go, and now, and I don't know if this is planned, if they just decided it's go time for the second step on the podium. But now we've got Murphy, Nichols, and Morgan Burkhardt definitely starting or at least it appeared for the moment to start the race. Going through here side by side through the S is certainly not advisable. I was going to say, Tyler, as you had mentioned about how consistent Patry had been, just as you were saying that, Patry turned in his fastest lap of the race, turned in a 2:25.65, and it was only about 0.2 faster than Burkhardt and Nichols have been running. Now here's a bit of an interesting thing, and we can certainly see, we know that Charles Vaccaro has had some mechanical issues. He is coming down the pit lane and looks like he is headed back out, and I'm wondering if that was possibly a stop, well, certainly not a stop and go penalty, but a drive-through penalty based on number of incident points. We've also noticed that Greg Mack we saw coming down the pit lane as well, and Greg Mack now in the pits. And I'm not sure what the story was there.
Yeah, not looking like he's coming out. He could be stopping it for this race, get ready for the next one. But yeah, and you talked about the incident points, you talked about the off tracks here at the beginning of the show, and yeah, it looks like that possibly could have caught out Vaccaro, and we saw him getting in an incident earlier, and that's for 4 incident points, and so that will really derail your race, because to be perfectly honest, there's ones you can take and that drivers will take depending on the length of the race and depending on if you're in a fight or not, and it's worth taking those incident points to get that little bit extra speed on exit, or just widen your entry a little bit. And sometimes you just have to make those when you're passing or trying to fight with somebody, and unfortunately you could be the innocent bystander to somebody spinning in front of you, and it can cause that drive through, and it's never fun. But using the iRacing system, which is fairly robust in tamping down any kind of weird exploits that you can get,
Right.
It's just a cost of doing racing on iRacing, as we have the white flag now. Our flag man's going for it again.
That's right. Caleb Patry takes the white flag, so 1 lap to go here, and was just checking, and indeed drivers will be assigned a drive-through penalty for 12 incident points, and it looks as though Greg Mack may have hit that limit, but again, that's just a drive-through penalty, and it looks as though both Burkhardt and Nichols may be pretty darn close to that, so we're gonna have to see what they decide to do here, as they're still battling it out and still pretty darn close. Now just about 0.4 of a, or probably about 4 seconds back from Caleb Patry in the number 198 machine.
Yep, and looks like we're kind of seeing what we saw with the RE2 race that I commentated back at Road America, where
Road America, yeah.
I think they got to try to catch. They just didn't have the pace to get back up to the front, and we'll see if Murphy has the pace here. Obviously, we know Morgan's quick. I think at this point he's probably, and there he goes. He's actually putting on a weave down the straight, trying to break that draft. I was gonna say, I think he's just towing Murphy along this entire time.
That's exactly right.
We'll see if Murphy gives it a sit. I think he's got some extra confidence with that internet fix here. I haven't seen any issues so far, so let's.
Yeah, but he's
a
long way back.
Oh yeah, I think he's too far back for this corner. We'll see if he pokes his nose in. He might be down for some fun.
Yeah, he made up quite a bit under braking there, and he's right up onto the gearbox of Morgan Burkhardt now as they come through the stadium section, turns 13 through 16. As we take now a look at this is the 231 machine of Beans Forster, and he's along there with Jordy Fike. 2 very clean racing, and Forster had a great run at Summit Point just I guess last week. And it looks like we might have had somebody spin right around him there. I just saw some tire smoke go up in the air. As Caleb Patry now makes his way out of turn 19, just 1 more corner to go here at the Circuit of the Americas. And now he's going to start the weave. And I always, Tyler, get scared when I see this, because I'm afraid that if it were me, I'd be slamming right into the pit wall as I do that. And Caleb Patry, he is your winner tonight. Morgan Burkhardt, he's going to hold off Murphy. Nichols to finish in second. Nichols, blink free, will come home in third tonight, 53 thousandths of a second, or probably 53 hundredths of a second back behind Burkhardt. Then we've got Brian Schmaltz, ran a very quiet race in the 194 machine, but comes home just off the podium. The 231 of Beans Forster will finish in fifth. Jordy Fike, sixth. Andrew Bennett, John Wilson, Josh Justice, and Justice should be crossing the stripe here in a moment. And there we go. And oh yeah, this is the after race action.
Oh yeah, we got a 3-ring circus. They're making an SRF centipede up here in the first corner. It's great. They're just enjoying the 1, 2, 3 there.
There you go. All right, so there is your finish tonight. Patrick Burkhardt, Nichols, your top 3. It looks like even Joaquin Effinger getting into the action here as he's going to come up with a nice little drift. Actually, I think I saw him do the exact same thing at Summit Point. All right, let's take a look, and we do indeed have a few folks that have jumped into the booth. Oh wow, half the field has jumped into the booth. Let's do this. Let's, and we haven't talked to Andrew in quite some time. I want to bring in Andrew Benna, driver of the number 71 machine, and get his basically his story on the start. Andrew Benna, congratulations, great run tonight, finishing in 7th. Net gain 5 positions, but I'll tell you, you had one heck of a start tonight. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I was just coming up to the green, and I was like, all right, we're going to go through, and I just saw a gap and went for it. Was like, I was hoping it was just going to stick, and I managed to stick it. And then going down into that first hairpin, I got on the brakes a little bit too much, spun in front of Charlie, and hurt both of our races there. But yeah, just kind of saw a gap and went for it.
So and obviously there, and we were taking a look at the side of the car there with the nice tribute, very nice tribute to Scott Reddick with the photo of his car on the side of your Spec Racer Ford. Better his than my face, I might add. But
it will make a return.
Yeah, I'm sure it will at some point. Can't wait. But other than that, why don't you tell us a little bit about the rest of the race there?
Oh, yeah, no, we had some great battles going on in the midfield. Got to watch a whole lot of good racing from Ben, and I think that was Deacon there as well. And then near the middle there, Greg Mack and I had a little bit of jousting going back and forth. And yeah, just a whole lot of fun, close racing up and down the field.
Very, very cool. All right, so Andrea, who would you like to thank for tonight's race?
Oh, of course, I'd like to thank Stevie Ray, Apex Racing TV, yourself and Tyler for putting on such a great commentary. And hi to my parents who definitely aren't watching this.
Very good. Well, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Benna. Congratulations, Andrew, and have a hopefully are we going to see you in the RE2s here coming up next?
Yeah, I'm just hopping into the session right now.
All right, sounds good. Well, we'll see you here in just a few moments. Everybody, Andrew Benna, driver of the number 71 machine. All right, let's move over now. We're going to bring in our winner in tonight's race. That was Caleb Patrick, driver of the number 198 machine. Congratulations on your win tonight, Caleb, cementing your lead in the championship. How'd it go for you tonight?
It went pretty good. I knew Morgan and I were pretty close in time, so I pretty much expected us to pull away. And we had a little bit of a fight there those first 2 laps, which was fun. And then I guess he just made a mistake. I don't know what corner it is, but the corner after that long straight. And
yeah, turn 12. Yeah,
turn 12. Thank you. Yeah, and then after that, like I said, I knew we were close in time, so I just knew I had to just turn laps, not really worry about what was going on behind me, and held on to it for the win.
There you go. Very, again, after lap 2 or so, very uneventful, quiet win. So who would you like to thank tonight for your victory, Caleb?
Well, certainly everybody at All Sports Racing. Good job, everybody, tonight. Apex Racing TV for the broadcast. Spec Racer Sports for their sponsorship of the series. And Steve Ray at Ray Esports for putting these events on.
Very, very good. All right, everybody, there you go. Caleb Patrick, and I'm sure we're going to see you in just a few moments in the RE2 machine, I presume?
For sure.
Excellent. All right. So everybody, Caleb Patrick, driver of the number 198 Spec Racer Ford, taking the win tonight at the Circuit of the Americas. All right, so we're going to take a quick little break. We're going to get set up for that second of 2 races tonight, the RE2 Formula race, and should be a barn burner. It's a track that these cars were made for, or maybe a cars that this track was made for, something along those lines. But before we take that break, if you like what you saw here tonight in our first race, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to Apex Racing TV and click on that notification bell to find out about all the great virtual motorsports action that we have every single day of the week. And if you want to not find out more about those events, you can subscribe to our social media channels on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. All you got to do to find us, just search for one word, Apex Racing TV. So we'll be back here in just a few moments from the Circuit of the Americas with our second race of the evening. Hold tight. We'll be right back with you. All right, and we are back here at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with Tyler Campbell. And Tyler, we have our RE2 Formula cars out on track right now, and as we flash the weather conditions up on track there, a fairly cool day in Austin, as you can see there, and perhaps a bit of a surprise that the track temp's only at about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, so relatively cool for these cars. How do you think it's going to affect them on track?
Oh, I think it's going to help a lot. When the track temp gets high, the surface temp of those tires goes through the roof, and it is really hard to keep it from sliding, and you really don't want to slide as much as possible, because as soon as you start overheating the surface of those tires, the rubber really rolls over the top of them, and it becomes quite difficult to get power down, to get keep the rear down, especially in the S's, as we already see a couple of people finding that out.
Good move by Ben Forster there.
Yeah, and it's even overcast, which is amazing. This rarely happens. They should feel so lucky.
Yes.
But yeah, it's been cool here in Texas as well. I'm in North Texas, but
That's right.
it's been relatively cool the last few days. So it's nice. It's always nice when you see the sim match kind of the real world conditions just on happenstance, it seems.
All right, so let's do this, Tyler. As our drivers now are about 9 minutes into the 15-minute qualifying session, let's take a look quickly at where we stand with our MX5 racers and the MX5 class here in the Ray Esports Season 4 Championship, and then we'll look back because it's been a couple weeks since the RE2s last ran, and the last time they ran, as you mentioned, a race that you covered with me, Road America. But let's first look at MX5, where last week at Summit Point, kind of uneventful at the start. We had Jameson Huffman and Caleb Patry on the front row. Again, Morgan Burkhart was not here last week. We had Zihao Liu, who I mentioned won the Spec Racer Ford race, Greg Mack, Wan Chi Lin as well. And really pretty uneventful, although Greg Mack on the opening lap, on the opening corner, he ran a little bit wide and fell all the way back in the 7th position. And Zihao Liu had issues as well. He fell all the way back into I believe 16th position after having spun off in the chute. But it basically then became a 5-car battle. We had Murphy Nichols, who joined that lead pack of Huffman and Patry, as well as Wan Chi Lin and also Tom Pendergrass as well in that battle as well. And finally, though, with about 5 minutes left to go in the 15-minute race, Patry and Huffman, they worked their way clear the rest of the field, and essentially it basically became a 2-car battle for the win. It became a 2-car battle for the last step on the podium, as Patry and Huffman had about a 4-second lead, I believe, on Murphy Nichols and Pendergrass. Patry took the win by 0.2 of a second. Then it was Murphy Nichols beating out Tom Pendergrass to the line. Pendergrass finishing up 0.6 of a second back from Nichols, just off the podium in 4th. Wan Chi Lin finished 5th. Zach Burke finished 6th, and Josh Soto, who had, I believe, started in 7th position. That is exactly where he would finish up after he put on one heck of a drift show through turn 5 on the very first lap. But let's take a look at the points in Spec Miata now. And this is after 5 of 6 rounds. The Spec Miatas, they are going to finish up their regular season next week when we head out to WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Caleb Patry, your current points leader, and he was also your Season 3 champion with 104 points. But then you can see how close it is right behind Morgan Burkhart with 73, Jordy Fike with 72 points. Fike having moved up 2 positions in the championship. And then we've got Jameson Huffman, and you'll notice Jameson not here this evening. So this certainly isn't going to affect the Spec Miatas, but it did affect the standings in Spec Racer Ford. And as we then take a look at the RE2s, it is also going to affect the championship in RE2, and we're going to take a look at that in just a few moments here. As the last time I mentioned they ran was at Road America. That was 2 weeks ago, where we had Morgan Burkhart on the pole. We had Connor Vogel on the outside of the front row. We had John Vogel starting 3rd with Caleb Patry, and then we had Nagisa Yoshikawa and Jameson Huffman making up the rest of that front end of the field. And I don't want to go and rehash this because we talked about this race last week, Tyler, but big coming together going into turn 1 on the very first lap, where we were 3 wide going into 1 with Connor Vogel to driver's left, with Caleb Patry in the center, John Vogel to driver's right, and the 3 drivers all came together. John Vogel on the inside made his way clear and managed to come home in 3rd, where both Patry and Connor Vogel never made it to turn 1. But great run after as that race developed, as those drivers ended up out of the race. Our pole sitter Burkhart had pretty much I don't want to say an easy run to the checkers. Yoshikawa was pretty much hounding him for a good portion of the race. Margin of victory for Burkhart, 0.2 of a second. John Vogel finished back in third place, took the last step of the podium. Jameson Huffman finished in fourth. And if we take a look at the point standings now in RE2 coming into this will be the 5th of 6 races. They will also finish up the championship next week on the peninsula. Jameson Huffman, who is not here racing tonight, currently tied for the championship with John Vogel at 82 points. Morgan Burkhardt back in third with 73, and you can see back from there Jordy Fike and Justin Huffman 4th and 5th in the championship. And once you drop a little bit from there, Deacon Greenfield, John Casey tied for 6th place. But this tonight, unless something, I don't know how you put this, Tyler, unless there is divine intervention on behalf of Jameson Huffman tonight, he is going to find himself out of the lead in the championship.
Yeah, and realistically, with Morgan doing really good so far in qualifying here, him and Caleb, of course, well, actually now only 0.02 of a second off each other. You know, Jameson and Caleb are actually going to make it close for probably the 3rd step on the podium for the overall championship, for that bronze medal, if you were. And you know, we'll see. All it takes is for one of them to crash out. If Morgan crashes out, that's going to make it even more interesting. With you know, Caleb coming back, it's 25 points for a win here, and he's not 25 points back. So you know, we'll see. Only unfortunate thing is this is only a 14-car field, and so it's unfortunate not seeing the two Huffmans here, and Nagisa didn't have the track actually yet in iRacing, so you know that's why he's not here. But you know, we'll see. It's gonna be a good duel between Burkhardt and Patry, as they're both done with their qualifying, so that's how they're gonna start. And I think this is gonna be just about as interesting of a first corner. It's definitely easier to take in these cars compared to the SRFs.
Sure.
And we'll see what it does. We'll see if Murphy ends up back up there again, and if he picks a horse, or if we're just gonna see a brawl the whole race. It's gonna be interesting to see. They love fighting, and they're not afraid to send it on each other. Let me tell you.
That's right. And and I guess if some of these drivers feel that they may have an advantage on the rest of the field, we may see them start battling a little bit early here. But as the checkered flag is out on qualifying, Morgan Burkhardt currently is your provisional pole sitter with a 206.645, and all of about what is that, about just about 0.03 of a second, actually 0.25 of a second, besting Caleb Patry. New driver to the Esports Racing League here tonight. It's Theo Moriescu in the number 1 machine. Awfully brave running the number 1 car in your first race out. He qualifies 3rd. Murphy Nichols finds his way up into 4th position. And again, I think that wild card, though, Tyler, is going to be John Vogel in that black number 4 machine, currently sitting second, or not sitting second, but currently sitting tied for the championship with Jameson Huffman. At this point, it is his race to lose, as he is up currently by 9 points. All right, so as things are wrapping up here, looks like things are folding down. We're going to have our starting grid here in just a moment, and once we do, then we'll talk about our great sponsor for tonight's race. I think that's kind of the question here. Is, we know that these cars, obviously, they don't draft nearly as well as, say, the Spec Racer Fords or the Spec Miatas do, and perhaps because of the width of the cars, you may see maybe a little bit more battling through the S's than maybe we saw in the Spec Racer Fords as well, Tyler?
Honestly, probably not. I think,
Okay.
With these, they're wider, yes, but they are built for both oval and road racing. And that,
Okay.
and when you have a kind of a hybrid, not in the drivetrain sense, obviously, but when you have a hybrid machine like that, that's built for both. It's stronger for the ovals. The suspension, everything's kind of beefed up a little bit to take the G-force there. It really doesn't lend itself to be as nimble of a car as you would imagine on a track like this. But coming through, it's going to be really interesting to see them come into the first corner. They can absolutely brake well, and especially after the most recent tire update for a lot of the Formula cars in iRacing, we actually they handle a lot better under braking than they did before. They were almost like an SRF before. Now they got a little bit more of that stability you'd expect from a Formula One car, or a Formula style car.
All right, so tell you what, Tyler, why don't you, if you'd like to take it, why don't you start running down the starting grid for tonight's second race, and then we'll talk about our sponsor for tonight's battle.
Yeah, with pleasure. As they load in, we got Morgan Burkhart. I'm tempted to call him the qualifying champion for this season, with a 2:06.645. Caleb Patry on the outside of the front row, only 25 hundredths of a second slower. And then in third, first time I believe that I've seen him here, Theo Maiorescu from New York is only 2/10 back from Caleb, and will be interesting to see how he mixes up the field. Murphy Nichols starting in fourth. And we have John Vogel, who should be able to capitalize on Jameson not being here and hopefully solidify his second place in the championship, starting in fifth. Deacon Greenfield back again in sixth. We got Beans Forrester starting in seventh. He seems to be consistent. I expect to see him capitalize on anybody else's misfortune tonight. And then we got Jordy Fike in eighth. Charles Vaccaro in ninth. Joshua Justice in 10th, hoping he can have a lot smoother of a race this time out. And in 11th, we got Andrew Benna. And 12th, we got Joaquin Effinger. And then bringing up the back here, last but not least row, you got John Casey in 13th and Wayne Buttermore in 14th. And they're out here having fun every single week because they keep showing up. They're pounding out the laps, and you love to see them hanging out racing each other.
Yeah, they've been racing against one another now, I think, for actually all 4 seasons, and never seem to be separated out by more than a couple car lengths. All right, so we've got the pace car now bringing the field, bringing Morgan Burkhart and Caleb Patry through turn 19. And we'll see that pace car making the jump onto the pit lane right now. There you go. Oh, wow. The pace car almost lost the rear end of it. They're heading in. Loosest I've seen that Porsche in all my years on iRacing. All right, so Morgan Burkhart leads the field around turn 20 onto the front straight as we wait for the green flag. Much faster start than we saw in Spec Racer Ford. And Patry maybe hanging back just a little bit from our pole sitter Burkhart. There he goes now as he starts to pull up, and we're on the front straight. Green flag is in the air. Very late start here as they make their run up that 11-degree banking up towards turn 1. We can see Josh Justice in that bright blue number 399 moving all the way to the outside. Oh, and is that Burkhart who goes around, and we've lost a couple of other cars. Andrew Benna spins as well. It looked as though as they came
he's high centered on the curb.
Yeah, he is not going to go anywhere except maybe a faster pair and a long toe for Morgan Burkhart, but that moves Caleb Patry up into the lead, and John Vogel, who seems to be around mischief on every single start this season, didn't have anything to do with that. I mean, and he was just able to clear Burkhart as he went around. Vogel now running in second. Murphy Nichols move him up to third. Deacon Greenfield about a half second back. Sitting back in fourth place, being challenged by Beans Forster in that orange and green number 231 machine. And then we've got probably the driver that caught out the most there, the purple and yellow number 1 of Moriescu, who started up in row number 2. He now sits back in 7th position as he went to try and avoid that spinning Morgan Burkhart, as a bunch of drivers had tried to come up the inside and saw things close up almost immediately on him. But now sending it deep and sending it hard is the number 4 machine of John Vogel, Tyler. So what do you think?
I think that was a little ambitious with John. I think he was trying to probably get into Caleb's head there, and ended up basically putting himself in the clutches of Murphy. And again, teammates, they're gonna go through it, and they're gonna draft each other. And here you'll see the start. I saw it looks like Maiorescu got a little bit hot into the corner. We'll see. Probably, I mean, you can keep it a little bit careful there, and just that nudge. Yeah, and I believe Morgan tries to whip it around here, and he's got to get high centered right there. Yep. And that's the thing with these cars, and that's a pet peeve of mine for these. That for some reason they love getting stuck on these curbs.
Yeah,
that could be the smallest curb in the world.
And I think we talked about it last season at Summit Point Raceway, where you had issues at the curbing. I think just past the apex of turn 8 at Summit, which is for a tin top car, is a non-event. It's almost flat there, but was just high enough to really upset the RE2 machines. But yeah, unfortunate there, as we saw Moriescu get into the back of Burkhardt there going into turn number 1, and it looks like it also affected, of course, Andrew Benna and also Charles Vaccaro, who, Vaccaro has been qualifying incredibly well, and he got caught up in a melee, of course, with Benna, oddly enough, in our first race this evening. So it looks like those two drivers kind of tied it at the hip, unfortunately for both of them. As we jump back over here to this live action we're watching right now, this is the battle for 4th, still with Deacon Greenfield and Beans Forster, and it's at least for another lap and another turn 1. Greenfield's able to hold off the number 231 machine.
Yep, and I'll be interested to see. Mayorscu definitely has pace, and it's exciting to see someone come in and put it on the second row like that in the first race, as you see here. Forrester got to take the inside away from Greenfield here, coming down into turn 12. They don't have a lot of draft, but they definitely have enough to pull you up alongside, and they're going to go side by side through the exit. Beans is going to give him plenty of room. Very, very fun to drive against Beans Forrester here as well. And they're going to take it 2x2 all the way through around, and he's probably going to take away the inside if he can get there.
Oh, and it's going to be tight. Yeah,
it's a little squirrely, and they're still side by side coming out of the hairpin. And Mayorescu's just looking for a way through. He knows if he can get 2 and 1, that's gonna be great for him, and he can try to start catching back up to that lead pack. But they are still side by side.
Yeah,
the right-handers and the left-hander. This is going to be difficult to stay on track. Yep, and that's just close. That's just
as Greenfield runs wide, and I'm trying to remember if he's going to get a slowdown from there, because I thought that coming out of 19 was one of those places where they can get the slowdown penalty, but it looks like he's still on the throttle here. And
I think you have to go pretty wide. Yeah, I think you have to go pretty wide there, and it's a very great 3-car fight we have here. Very, very clean.
Absolutely, and again, Moriescu just kind of, I'm sure he's kind of waiting for the C's to part in front of him, but he was kind of trapped to the outside along the curbing there by Beans Forster. Another great battle that we see, and this is the battle for 2nd place with John Vogel and Murphy Nichols. Nichols looking very strong here through the S's as they come up through turn 8, and then make that downhill run over towards the hairpin as Patry, for the 2nd race in a row, starting to exert a little dominance and start to move away from the rest of the field. But let's do this, Tyler, as our drivers are now making their way down towards turn 12, the end of this 6/10 of a mile track. Let's quickly talk about our sponsor for tonight's 2nd race, and that is Alliance Autosport, based in Columbus, Ohio, where they found success both at the club and also professional levels, garnering multiple championships, including 8 SCCA National Championships, 3 SCCA Pro Racing Championships, as well as a USF 2000 National Class Championship. Alliance Autosport's team members are dedicated, hardworking, and know what it takes to win. Alliance is the SCCA Enterprises Great Lakes Division customer service representative for FE2 and also for Spec Racer Ford, and their services include arrive and drive packages for Spec Racer Ford Gen 3, for FE2, and also for Trans Am 2. They offer customer car prep, trackside support, transportation, storage, part sales, data analysis, hospitality, as well as driver coaching and development. To join Alliance Autosport on the winning track, check them out at allianceautosport.com. All right, so now that we've gotten through the legally mandated stuff, Tyler, let's just jump back to this great battle, the battle for 2nd. And actually, we've been jumping, as I was reading that, through the battle for 2nd, the battle for 4th. I mean, it's pretty amazing here.
Yeah, it's looking really, really tight, as we see Joshua Justice there just hanging it out in the exit of the first corner, getting a little light, and he's going to go back to the back of that pack, but he's still going to have the draft there on the back straight. As long as I talked about surface temps, as long as he can keep it through here, it does take several laps for those tires to kind of cool back, or sorry, a couple corners to get the tires cooled down enough. Yep. You see how he slides a little bit wide there. He's still probably going to struggle with that for the next couple corners, and we'll see who's going to end up leading this pack as we're all approaching halfway, because this might be one of those where you want to be kind of second in the pack. Same thing with Murphy Nichols and John Vogel fighting for second there.
Yeah, so you can see now leading this pack, currently sitting in fourth, having made up 3 positions since the start of the race, is Beans Forster in the bronze, green, and black number 231 machine. He had gotten around Deacon Greenfield after what was two laps in a row, almost side by side all the way around the course. And then we've got the number 1 machine of Moriescu having started on row number 2 for tonight's race. But here it looks like the tires are coming back in for the 399 of Josh Justice there, starting to hang over the back, all around the back of Jordy Fike's team, Esports Racer, the maroon or burgundy and dark gray machine, the number 09 machine.
Yeah, and he seems to be doing a really good job and really understanding the car. Like he had a lock up there going into the hairpin, and he obviously had the slide at the first corner, but he made some really impressive passes on both of the people that he now trails. And so it's great to see Josh Justice really getting in there and fighting for those positions, because he hangs it out every week, and it just he pushes and pushes, and as we saw in the SRF race, you get unlucky sometimes, and that happens. But it's great to see him fighting. You lose positions, you fight them back. Anything can happen in a race. I'm a huge proponent of you spin it in the first corner, you got 19 minutes and 50 seconds left in this race.
Right.
There's plenty of time to make up those positions, and unfortunately for Morgan, he was unable to do that, which I was gonna say it earlier, but that's exactly what I was talking about. That's what Caleb Patry needed. That's what John Vogel needed. John Vogel will probably come out of this leading the championship, if I would have to guess. I can't imagine with the points difference that Caleb's going to be able to surpass him, having missed the most recent week, or get wrecked out the most recent week, I should say.
Yeah, I was going to say get wrecked out. The points allocation for these races: 25 points for your winner, 21, 18, 17, 16, and then working its way back. And so John Vogel, as we mentioned, came into the evening with 82 points, had a 9-point advantage over Burkhardt. Then had a 20-point advantage over Jordy Fike,
and John Vogel's around. He's hit the wall.
Let's take a look. Here we go.
Is this a hardware failure? It's a hardware failure.
Oh my gosh! Yes, John Vogel coming down the straightaway. They're coming out of the hairpin at 11, going down into 12, and John Vogel, his night is now done. So that may be the most extreme instance of the announcer's curse, Tyler, that I think we will see all season. But yeah, he must have had a hardware failure.
Yep, it had to happen. It had to happen at some point, Greg. And he was just on the radio talking about how his VR headset died on him. He said he was looking at the ground and looking at the sky, and it's all over for that. And that still makes it insanely interesting for the championship here, because Caleb actually has 2 more points than me in terms of the championship, and I think I've raced in one race. I think the 2, maybe 2, 1 race, and so this puts, who does this even benefit the most? Jordy Fike in fourth position.
In fourth position, exactly. Who was coming in with 62 points. So he's now got. At this point, Caleb Patry is still leading, as you mentioned, but considerably further back in the points. And 25 points not going to help him. So at this point, and Murphy Nichols is also not even in the top 10. So Fike again in 6th position would give him, I believe, 15 points. And
that's correct.
Then that would put him up at 70. 15 points would put him up at 75. That would still move him up to possibly 3rd in the championship.
Yep. Yeah, it's gonna make it interesting. That's exactly what Jameson Huffman needed. I don't know what kind of voodoo you were working there with the spirits at the beginning.
But did I not say before we started this race that Jameson would need divine intervention, and he may have just gotten it this evening, as our Jameson Huffman tied for the championship with John Vogel coming into this evening, not here racing tonight. Now, I would say though, likely, and this may be this will, I think, alter things a little bit. Is I think even with Vogel checking out early.
And still get 9 points, I believe.
Yeah, and I might also add here, and we may, I don't know if we're going to see John back, but these drivers, they do get a single fast repair. So if he can get his goggles back up and running, I mean, I know it takes a couple minutes to get the toe back around, but Vogel could complete this race. But with only 15 drivers starting this race tonight, Vogel could conceivably come away with 1 or 2 points. And
if anything, nothing's out of the realm of possibility at this point. We've thrown the realm out the window. The only way he can gain points, because actually 12th and 13th, they get the same amount of points. It's 9 points for both. So he would conceivably, and he's actually just a lap down. So I think he may have made it back out, and gotten lapped. So he'd have to overtake John Casey and Wayne Buttermore. And so unless one of them wrecks out and doesn't take the repair, then he's going to be stuck with 9 points, which will put him in the lead for sure.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And again, one more race to go in the championship. So, it's not over yet for Huffman. It's not over yet for Burkhardt or Jordy Fike, for that matter, either, as they will battle it out for our season championship. Regular season championship next week, next Tuesday at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. But let's jump back to this battle here, as Beans Forster has managed to work his way clear of Greenfield and Moriescu. Moriescu obviously had great qualifying pace, just has not seemed to be able to get around Greenfield, and I'm wondering, possibly, Tyler, if there is, although it doesn't, we can't really see it here, but I'm wondering if perhaps there was just even the slightest amount of damage from when Moriescu got into Burkhardt in that turn 1, lap 1 incident that maybe is impacting his overall speed, or maybe he just has the car trimmed out differently.
There is, I just took a look, and there is some damage to that right front wing end plate, and a slight bit to the main plane of the right front wing itself. So that will give him some aerodynamic drag going down the straights, and quite honestly could be causing, his inability to pass, because around here it's the 2 straights are going to be your easiest, best way to pass. As you see here, Deacon Greenfield just ran wide at the end of the last corner, and he's going to take that opportunity. We'll see if he can out-drag him down the straight, and you'll see he's going to start to lose a little bit here with that aerodynamic drag. Yep. And so let's see if he can hold it into the first corner. I think if he can hold this, he'll probably be able to keep it. I know he definitely has pace, and they're going to keep it too wide, and he's going to spin at the end of the. Oh no! Well, and there it goes.
He gathers it back up, but he is now going to lose a position to Jordy Fike as well. So move Fike now up into 5th. And Moriescu, and we were talking about this earlier about not necessarily being able to judge where cars are alongside you, and not that it's a question of field of view, and not a question of what you can see in the mirrors off to the sides in a Formula car, which obviously I think to some extent a little bit better than some of the tin tops. But when you come into turn 1 at Circuit of the Americas, because it is so wide, it is very, very difficult to keep track of the drivers that you may be somewhat alongside of, and it looked as though Moriescu just really pinched down on, coming past the apex there, pinched the car all the way down to the inside, perhaps did not need to as much as he did, might have been able to open up the exit just a little bit more, because he had quite a bit of room there with Greenfield off to his side.
Yeah, and that's one that I think about often myself is, you see all these great moves, like for example Formula One, where he's going to take that exit. He's at the inside line. He's going to take that exit and basically cut off the exit for the other driver. Mm-hmm. But again, you said in the sim, it's very hard to tell. He's next to you, but you don't know exactly where. And when we're looking at it in that third person view, I think the best move would have been take it wide. Deacon's already way off to the outside. He's going to get the drive. If he would have just squared off that exit just a little bit more, he probably would have completed the pass. Yeah, and especially in turn 1, not only do you not know exactly where the person is, next to you, you're also completely focused on the apex. It's blind the whole way. So you're looking for it, and you're trying to grab every piece of that apex that you can to make sure you are actually not just gonna drive off the inside curb or send it out into into the fields of the Texas prairie.
Yeah. So you end up either in the Texas prairie or on one of the runways at Austin Bergstrom Airport. One of the two.
Exactly. Yep, and here's another thing I talked about at the beginning of the show. Beans Forrester's there to pick up the pieces because he's just going to drive his race. He's going to race it clean, and there he is. He's on the podium right now as it stands. I'm not sure if Deacon has the pace to catch him, but I think we'll see. Looking at the timing tower, they're pretty evenly matched on pace. Beans has better overall pace. He's run a 208.4. Deacon's fastest lap is a 209.2. I think as Deacon is being very consistent right now, so he's really nailing his apexes and corners. He's fighting for position. And I think he's going to have a solid, probably 4th place finish here as it stands.
Yeah, and so you can see here, Dennis has thrown up the deltas over the last number of laps there, and a couple of laps to Forrester, a couple of laps to Greenfield, a couple of laps that were one lap that was exactly the same for the two of them. So you can, as you can see there, no big advantage, but once again. And as we were talking about the Spec Racer Ford finish that we had last week at Summit Point, Beans Forrester just in the right place at the right time. That as the drivers up at the front battling it out for the podium fall away, he's there to pick up the pieces. And again, currently sitting in 3rd. Now going wide, that is Wayne Buttermore, as he came, and that looks like over. Through the stadium section over by turn 14, I believe. Actually, oh no, I'm sorry. That was through the that wasn't 14. That was up through the S's. That was around turn 4, as he's now making that run down to the hairpin.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of this track looks the same. All that red runoff there.
Yes.
It's just S's and runoffs, and that's what you get here at I almost said Road America, at Circuit of the Americas. But yeah, as we have coming to the white flag, the leaders just took the white flag, and you
that's right.
You got not a whole lot of battles right now. I think our closest, probably Jordy Fike and Mayorescu. He's definitely on his recovery drive here. You can tell he's pushing it through that corner. He's trying to carry as much speed as humanly possible through every single corner. Actually, can we get for Fike and Mayorescu, can we get the deltas on that? I'd be interested to see how much he's caught up in after his spin. And see that, yeah.
So, and you could see there a second, a half a second, 1.5 seconds, 0.4 of a second, every single lap there. But again, running out of time as we are on the very last lap. Our leader, Caleb Patry, should be making his way out of the hairpin, I believe, and coming down towards turn 12 right now as Fike and Moriescu are going into the hairpin. And as I say it, there we are at turn 12. And as Patry is going to be heading into the stadium section here with the multiple right-hand turns.
Yep, he's just got a couple more. Yeah, it is very tight, Greg. It's an insanely tight hairpin. Like I said, you can't even see it on some single monitors without it being right up on your face. And he's just got these last simple corners. These ones you can actually time really nice when you're not pushing. So he's just going to drive it right onto the end and have another solid 1st place finish. I mean, I probably shouldn't say anybody's going to finish anywhere, considering how much we've cursed everyone tonight in this race.
Yes, exactly.
But there it is, coming around the final corner. He's going to take victory here at Circuit of the Americas in the RE2 race.
There you go. Your winner tonight. 2nd race in a row for him. Caleb Patry taking the win. Murphy Nichols in the Smoketown Brewery number 5 machine. He's going to come in 2nd. And then Beans Forrester in the 231 machine. He'll take the last step on the podium. Great run. And as you said, it very, very consistent. Deacon Greenfield tonight. He's going to come home in 4th. Jordy Fike trying to fight his way up through the championship order here. Fike will come home in 5th. Moriescu will come home in 6th with Josh Justice with a good recovery run for Josh as he had some issues there partway through the race. He's going to come home in 7th. Joaquin Effinger. God knows I've jinxed enough stuff here tonight. There's Joaquin coming through turns 17 and 18, and right on the back of him, Greg Mack there, only a couple hundredths of a second back. Let's see how this finishes up. He's going to
send it into the final corner. Joaquin's going to give him room because Joaquin is a gentleman driver, but he's going to get a better run on the outside.
That's right, and doesn't want to get wrecked out on the final corner there.
After that, that's 4 places up for Joaquin and 6 for Greg, so that's great for them.
Yeah, good run for the 399 car, and or probably for the 700 car, and also for the number 2 car of Greg Mack. Charles Vaccaro with his early off, he is going to come home and round out the top 10. Buttermore and Casey will be your final drivers running here at the end. All right, so let's do this. Tyler, would you like to interview one or more of our podium finishers? Say yes.
Yeah, let's say why not. I'd love to interview Beans.
All right. Well, then what we're going to do, we're going to bring in Beans Forster, finishing tonight second, or probably Beans Forster finishing third tonight in RE2.
Hey Beans, what a interesting race that was. I was saying it at the beginning of the broadcast that if anybody's going to pick up the pieces that the other drivers are putting down, it's going to be you. So walk through the race from your point of view, because honestly, we saw you a couple battles in the middle, and other than that, it was just a quiet race up to third.
Yeah, the beginning there, that kind of incident that happened over in turn 1, just every time I see an incident, I always slow down more than I should, because usually in the end, that's you don't survive a race if you crash out of it. So taking an extra second or two, hey, I can make that up during the race. And then being behind Deacon and with Theo coming up behind us, I was thinking to myself that I had to get past Deacon. And I saw him going slow into the turn right before the long straight. And so I was thinking, get a good exit. And then sure enough, I did. And I got him on the inside, and I just had to have that mental capacity to hold it and not push him wide, because we were battling there for a while. And I thought that was going to be tough.
Yeah, and it's a good thing you did, because it ended up that Deacon and Theo had a really tight race, and Theo ended up spinning there behind you after you had already kind of taken off from them. So excellent race. Good to see you on the podium. And was anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
I just want to thank you guys for putting on the broadcast, commentating, and then everyone here for putting on such good, clean racing.
All right, awesome. Thanks for joining us, and well travels for you. I believe those are in order as well. So hope stay safe out there.
Thanks, guys.
All right, everybody, there you go. Beans Forster finishing third tonight in RE2. Let's do this. Let's move on now to Murphy Nichols. We're going to bring in the driver of the number 5 machine, finishing second tonight, and a very strong, very good evening for Murphy Nichols. No blinking for the first time in 3 seasons, Murphy. I'll bet you not only did it make it easier for the drivers around you, I'm sure it made your job a heck of a lot easier as well to drive fast.
Oh yeah, it definitely made my job easier, and I'm sure it made tonight a lot better for you guys. Like you could stay focused on me without me blinking out every 3 seconds. But it definitely feels good to have. I got all thanks to Beans on that one. He gave me these new antennas, or rather, like showed me the ones to get. And ever since I've had them installed, they've worked wonders for me.
You know, that's wonderful, and you know, I'm wondering if Beans, who finished just behind you in the order tonight, if he's maybe regretting doing the work there for you. But why don't you tell us a little bit about the race? I mean, obviously there was the melee up going into turn 1 on the very first lap. What were your thoughts going into that, and what was going through your head as you were trying to avoid it?
It was, as soon as I kind of saw it happen, I saw Morgan get loose in front of me, so I know that there's a lot of runoff at turn 1. So my thought was, all right, knowing how these cars tend to spin, if I can just kind of beeline it toward like that runoff area in 1, I should be good. Which, luckily for me, I was. Even though I only have a single monitor, I couldn't see that side, so I just kind of had to trust that I was gonna miss it. And when I eventually did, I was like, all right, I got Caleb and John in front of me, so I knew I was quicker than John and I could keep with Caleb. So I was trying to get around John as quick as possible. Obviously, he didn't make that very easy for me, as really he shouldn't, considering it's a race. But after hearing what happened to him with his headset, I do feel really bad for him, because I think it could have been a really good fight all the way to the end, because I know he had pace as well. After that, and I was kind of cruising around in second, it was don't make any silly mistakes, and if I can, try and minimize the gap to Caleb. But it was kind of frustrating that him and I were basically the same pace, but it just shows how good of a driver Caleb is, honestly.
Well, I mean, obviously he had the advantage. He didn't have to fight anybody from the get go, and as you mentioned, you were in it there with John Vogel for a good couple laps there, and it was basically the advantage that the Patry needed. All right, so Murphy, why don't you give us a little rundown? Who would you like to thank for tonight's race?
Thank my mom and dad, first of all, for allowing me to do this on a continual basis. Thank you guys for another great broadcast, ASR, Team Watson Racing. And one more special shout out goes to my boys at Alien Force Racing. I'm so proud that I'm finally now a part of that team, and I cannot wait to get fully started with them.
That's right. You're going to be heard the word this weekend, I guess, with a win in another league here a couple of nights ago, or actually a special event a couple of nights ago. Murphy is going to go real life road racing next year, which is very cool to hear. And hopefully, Mr. Johnston can put a good car together for you to put you in the seat.
Oh, he's going to put together a wonderful car for me.
All right, there you go, everybody. Murphy Nichols finishing second tonight in RE2. And so I wanted to bring in John Vogel, who had been waiting in the interview room, but it looks like he has checked out. I wanted to get his feelings on and his view, obviously, about the mechanical issues that he was having gone into the evening tied for the championship. But since he's not here, what we're going to do, Tyler, let's bring in Caleb Patry, our winner for the second night in a row. And if you'd like to take over the festivities from here, Tyler, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, sure, why not? I'm sure you're tired of talking to Caleb anyway, considering he won't stay out of the production booth. He just keeps showing up.
I'm not tired of talking to you guys. That's part of the reason why I'm motivated to win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're the stars of the show here. We're the stars of the show.
For sure.
So Caleb, no race is easy, as we all know, but there's no better place to be than driving out in front with a couple seconds gap to two guys fighting behind you. So, what kind of was going through your head there? I know going into T1, you probably heard a little bumping and banging behind you. What were your thoughts throughout this race?
I mean, based on those qualifying times, I figured it would be a good race between us at the front. But then just going into one, I don't know what exactly happened, but I just saw Morgan go sideways, and then at the end of that lap, I just saw I kind of had a gap and saw them battling behind me, and that just kind of took the pressure off. I was struggling with the car a little bit. It was getting a little snappy on me, so that was a bit of a pain to deal with, but it uneventful for the most part, but still went well. I was able to pick up the win.
Yep. Yeah, congratulations on the win. That, and I was saying it makes the points battle very interesting because obviously you're not fighting for points in the series as much as with the other two, but with that, you're going to end up a little bit higher up, and nobody other than, who'd we say, Jordy Fike, realistically, in the top 5, finished this race anywhere near where they needed to. So, I guess we'll see how that plays out, but, good, congrats on the win again. Very strong, very consistent. So, does anybody like to thank or anything else you'd like to talk about before we let you go?
Yeah, certainly. Alliance Autosport, in memory of Scott Reddick.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank them for their support. You guys again for the awesome broadcast and being able to withstand my voice in this commentary booth again.
Hey, you just wait. You start finishing third, and you're going to end up in this broadcast booth if you're not winning.
I'll only be invited back if I win.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Again, All Sports Racing. Again, feel bad for Morgan, but great job to the other guys. Shout out to Murphy and Deacon for their good performances, and once again, Steve Ray for putting all these events on.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Caleb. I appreciate it. Have a good night and enjoy the win.
Thanks. You too.
All right, there you go, everybody. Taking his second win of the evening, Caleb Patry, driver of the number 198 RE2 machine, a win in Spec Racer Ford, and a win in the RE2 Formula Cars. So, Tyler, we're going to wrap things up for the evening now, and wanted to remind everybody that believe it or not, we're going to be back here next Tuesday night. Well, not here at Circuit of the Americas, but we are going to be heading to the West Coast. We're going to be heading to the Monterey Peninsula and beautiful WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. It will be week number 9, the final week of the regular season here, and we will have on tap once again the RE2 Formula cars. They will kick the evening off, and then we'll wrap our regular season up with the Spec Miatas, with the MX5s from Laguna Seca. And then in 2 weeks, we are going to have our winner-take-all runoffs. All 3 classes in one evening, the Spec Racer Fords, the RE2s, and the Spec Miatas. And we are going to be heading to the Finger Lakes region of New York. We're going to be heading up to, of course, Watkins Glen International. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss next week either. And of course, all of the action will start next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So again, if you like what you saw here tonight, please go ahead and give us that big thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe to Apex Racing TV's YouTube channel. Go ahead and click on that notification bell to find out about all the great motorsports action. And of course, you can find us on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. One word: Apex Racing TV. So for Tyler Campbell, for Dennis Branch, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we'll see you next week, next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. from Laguna Seca. Have a wonderful week, everybody.